I'm Ari Meglin here with Rachel Poli, and we're your hosts for the Merry Writer podcast. We are on episode 89, and this week's question is going to be a little different. It's going to be a little bit more personal as we ask, who is Rachel Poli? Before we begin...
Dun. We said we wanted sound effects at some point, right?
Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening so you never miss a show. And if you enjoy our episode, please do give it a like. Okay, like I said, we are doing something a bit different because we are close to the end of the year and we're, close to 90 episodes. So we just thought we'd do something different. And we thought we'd let you learn a bit more about the hosts of this podcast, aka us, as if you don't know enough about us from listening to all these podcasts. So in this week's episode, we are asking, just who is Rachel Poli? Rachel, tell us about yourself.
This is probably one of the worst questions in the history of questions. Whenever somebody asks me to talk about myself, I just have no idea what to say. I'll have total transparency here. And in my notes, I wrote, she's meh, because it's always hard to talk about yourself. But I guess it's actually kind of funny because you just mentioned that we're so many episodes into this podcast that our listeners probably know a good amount about us at this point. But I guess I'll say that I am an author, obviously, and I'm also a video gamer. I love games, board games, video games, all that fun stuff. Animal Crossing, if anybody plays Animal Crossing, Pokemon, yes, that's good. And I also really love animals. I cannot be trusted in a pet store with adult money. This I actually don't think I've told our listeners before. I impulsively bought a second turtle in May of this year. So I now have a 3-toed box turtle and I have a Russian tortoise who is a baby and he eats wires and it's great. And I also have a dog and a cat and 2 fish tanks. Possibly a third soon. So there's that going for me. I guess lastly, I would like to say I am a Virgo and I'm a clean freak and I'm a control freak. That's about it. That was, don't nod your head at me. Ari's nodding her head, you guys. That's rude. To what? That I'm a control freak?
Yeah, but that is a Virgo trait. So it makes so much sense.
For sure. Yeah, people get annoyed at me, rightfully so. And I'll admit it and I'll apologize in advance, but that's not going to stop me. But honestly, I think that's about it. That's me in a nutshell. I write, I enjoy reading, I play video games, and I love animals and cleaning. I sound like a delightful person.
So when you said you have 2 fish tanks, I assume there's fish in them, or is it just 2 tanks just sat there?
No, I have a beta fish that I recently got. His name is Chadwick Bozeman because I got him on August 28th. And then I have a 56-gallon tank that has almost 20 fish in it, but because we'll be getting the construction done on our house, which might be going on at the time this episode goes out, I need to move that tank, which means I have to buy another tank to move the fish. So that'll leave me with 2 giant tanks. So why not get more fish?
You can never have too many fish. I actually miss the fact we used to have tanks. We used to have a big tropical fish tank and it was brilliant, although we did have a silver shark that just kept trying to throw himself out of the tank, and 4 albino catfish that spent more time playing in the filter than catfishing on the bottom and cleaning things like they were meant to. So yeah, I really miss our fish. This took a weird turn.
Well, you know what? We're talking about me. So yes, this is the type of conversations that I talk. We'll say, tell us about yourself, and I will go on and on about my fish.
I am fine with that.
They're relaxing. The tank maintenance is a pain in the butt, but
Yes. I don't know how relaxing they are. As I said, we had a silver fish that tried to throw itself out of the tank randomly and actually managed to do so when we were cleaning it once, right in front of the cats. They were thankfully too slow to grab him. So I got him, but he was covered in fur because he landed on the floor. So we had to get a quick wash before we went back into the tank. And we had a fighting fish that seemed to attack its own reflection. And yeah, there seemed to be a lot of we're constantly watching the fish going, it's doing something it shouldn't be, pulling up the plants and everything, or choking on gravel because it was eating it. You know what? No, I don't think I'm going to have any more fish. They're a bit crazy.
You sound like you've had very intelligent fish in your lifetime. My fish don't do any of that.
Anyway, this is an episode about you, so we're going to move on to the next point. Rachel, tell us about your writing.
Okay, well, as I said, I am a writer. Whether I actually write or not, that is iffy. But I really enjoy the cozy mystery genre. That's what I write in mainly. I have dabbled in fantasy and like superhero sci-fi type stuff before, but I really enjoy the mystery genre, and that's what I've stuck with all of these years. Actually, when I first started writing, as you guys know, I began writing Ninja Turtle fan fiction, but I always tried writing in all these different genres when I finally started writing original work. And I could never find myself sticking with one story. I was always genre hopping, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I was always trying these new things. And then one day I decided to try mystery, and lo and behold, I'm still writing the same book, which may or may not be a good thing considering that it's been well over 10 years at this point, almost 11. But the fact that I've stuck with the same project for this long really gives me hope for, I don't know, for my future in writing. In fact, speaking of that book, right now I've been working on the first in a cozy mystery series. It's called George Florence and the Perfect Alibi, and I'm hoping to get it self-published in 2022. I am going to really regret saying this if I don't meet that goal by the end of 2022, but maybe this will give me the good kick in the ass that I need, because my biggest problem right now is just editing. But I really want to hire an editor in early to mid 2022, so that way that gives me a solid deadline to do what I need to do for the book, so I can send it to the editor and then just have the ball rolling.
Yeah, you are going to regret that if you don't, because we're all going to be keeping you accountable to that. And I might just have to keep bringing it up going, and how's that going? How's that going? And how's that going? Because seriously, we want to read this book. We've been talking about it. We really want to meet these characters. We want to read this book. It's going to happen.
Well, I want to read it too. I don't know what's going on in it. I've changed it so many times.
I have to admit, I will feel more pressure myself, because me and you have both been writing books for a long time. We're very perfectionisty. Is that a word? Perfectionist? Well, we're very much perfectionists. So it kind of, we want it to be right. We want it to be good. We really are good at procrastinating. So if you actually finish yours, then I feel like there'll be a double pressure that I also need to.
Okay, so see, it'll help you as well.
I don't do well with pressure.
Okay, well, actually, here's something else about myself. As you know, I'm very competitive.
No.
So if you start like being like, oh, hey, I have an editor, then that'll really give me a good kick in the pants, and I'll be like, oh, hey, I have an editor too. Haha. They don't know it yet, but I have one.
So talking about your writing, you say you're mainly in the cozy mystery, and I know you have been writing your. It's not a book; it's a series. It's like, so there's going to be several more books. Do you have any other projects, even in the back burners, outside of this series that you're working on, that might be in a different genre, or something like you think you might want to try? Is there anything bubbling away in the back that we might want to know about?
Yeah, actually, too many. Like, there's a lot. I guess I should probably mention that I do have a book self-published already. I self-published it in April of 2019, and it's called Sunday Morning. It's a collection of 52 flash fiction that I had previously published on my blog, but then I took certain stories and I rewrote them and edited them to be self-published. And after I self-published that, I kind of went into it like a pretty deep depression afterwards. So I don't talk about it much. And I feel really bad about it, because that poor book didn't get nearly as much attention as it probably should have. Not to toot my own horn, because like I still have imposter syndrome over the whole thing. And even now, that's why I still don't really market it, is because I'm afraid that, I don't know, I self-published it in 2019. Like at this point, it's probably not great, like in my eyes, but that's beside the point. It is out there. So if you enjoy short fiction, go ahead and go get it. And there are a couple of other series that I do have in mind. When I'm done with my cozy mystery series, I have a paranormal cozy mystery series totally planned out. And in terms of different genres, I actually do have a superhero series planned out as well. In fact, the first book I don't even know if it'll be the first book, but one of the books has actually been written before and rewritten a couple of times, because I think I originally started it as a NaNoWriMo project a few years ago, but that's kind of all it was. I wrote it for the 50,000 words, but I never went any farther with it, but I do have plans for it. I think that's it, actually. I think it's really just the cozy mystery, ghosts. I like ghosts. And then superheroes, which of course was heavily inspired by Marvel. So there we go.
I'm well aware that this episode and the subsequent episode are going to be quite awkward for us, because we do not talk well about ourselves, and we don't talk about our writing much, do we? It's very like, it's little snippets here and there in our podcast. So this is an interesting episode, kind of arm twisting Rachel to tell us more about herself and her work.
Arm twisting is a good word for it, actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of my fault. Ari gave me questions ahead of time and I didn't make notes for myself because I was like, what am I supposed to say? And now the time has come. We've actually put off recording these 2 episodes for 2-3 weeks now.
Yep.
What does that tell you guys about us? I mean, we're excellent writers. We're fabulous. We're going to be the next bestsellers of the world. So definitely go check out all of our stuff. That's what we're supposed to say, right?
Yes. And actually that leads perfectly onto my next more random question, which is, Rachel, what are your plans for world domination?
I'm going to micromanage everything because I kind of already do that anyway. So if we're going to dominate the world, the people who are probably trying to dominate the world, they're most likely doing it wrong. So I'll correct that and get ahead of them and just, yeah. I mean, really, like, not to bring politics or anything into this episode, but whenever I have those kinds of conversations with my sister, I always get so frustrated that I'm like, just put me in charge. Just let me handle it. Let me do it. Told you guys I'm a control freak. Even if I have no business being a control freak and I have zero clue of what it is, I will find a way to figure it out and micromanage stuff.
That totally fits with a Virgo. So we're saying what, 2024, vote for Rachel?
No. I still wouldn't want that job.
Oh, it does sound like a horrible job.
It really does, yeah.
Well, there you have it. We have managed to wrangle some extra information out about Rachel. I really hope that you enjoyed learning all of this, and obviously do go and check out her new website. She's kind of had a bit of a new site up and a bit of a rebranding. Is it rebranding?
Yeah, it is.
And you can visit her website at rachelpoliauthor.com. That is RACHELPOLI author.com. And obviously go and treat yourself to her book, Sunday Mornings, the collection of 52 flash fiction stories. Go and get that. There will be links and everything as usual in the description. We will force her to hand those over. Obviously, now it's over to you people, our dear listeners. Do you have a question you'd like to ask Rachel? If so, drop it down in the comments. Throw them at her. Whether she answers them is another matter, obviously.
Hey, it's easier to write stuff out than it is to talk about it, so.
True, very true.
Have at it.
As always, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you want to get yourself some extra content, do check out our Patreon page over at patreon.com/The Mirror Writer Podcast. You can support our show for as little as $1 a month and get extra bonus content. Tune in every Wednesday for a new episode where we ask all the right questions. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by Half Empty Notebooks. We keep buying more. The music, titled Inspired, is by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons 4.0.